What happens when a bakery CEO puts on an apron and within hours watches an employee collapse from pure exhaustion? Kellan Tate leaned back in his office chair, staring at the spreadsheet that had just ruined his afternoon. Store 12, out in the north end of town, had the highest customer complaints, the worst employee turnover, and sales that had flatlined for 3 months straight. He rubbed his jaw. "What's going on over there?" His executive assistant shrugged. "District manager says staffing has been tight, but every time they send someone new, they quit within a week." Kellan didn't trust excuses. Not after building this bakery chain from the 5 stores his father had left him. It had grown to 14 locations, but if one rotted from the inside, that rot could spread. And lately, he'd been hearing too much noise about rush service, rude employees, and even undercooked pastries. He stood up. "I'm going in." "You're going to store 12? "Not as the boss. I'm going undercover. If they won't give me the truth, I'll see it myself." The plan was simple. He'd pose as a new trainee named Kevin, transferred from another location. The chain had grown enough that most newer employees hadn't met him. And he'd recently shaved the beard he'd had for years. He wore thick glasses, covered the tattoo on his forearm with a long-sleeve shirt, and walked with a slight limp. No one would recognize him. Store 12 sat in a strip mall wedged between a laundromat and a dollar store. The outside looked fine, but the moment he stepped through the back door for the interview, he felt it tension. A tall, sharp-voiced woman greeted him. "You're the transfer? Great. I'm Maria, the manager. You'll shadow Dylan today. No slacking." Kellan nodded. "Got it." Dylan, a guy in his early 20s with deep eye bags and a crooked name tag, barely looked up. "You ever worked ovens?" "Yeah," Kellan lied. "Good, you're with me." The morning moved fast. The bakery opened at 6, and by 7:30, there was a line out the door. Kellan worked the ovens, then the counter, then washed trays non-stop. Dylan barely spoke, just moved like a machine. 2 other workers quit mid-shift. One didn't say a word, just tossed his apron on the floor and walked out. Maria didn't seem to notice. She was too busy yelling at the cashier for being too slow, and Kellan caught her pocketing a tip someone had left on the counter. By noon, sweat soaked his shirt. The line hadn't slowed, and only 4 people were left to run the place. Dylan hadn't taken a break once. "You good?" Kellan asked him quietly. "I'm fine," Dylan muttered, wiping his brow. "Just need to get through today." A minute later, Dylan was gone. Kellan turned around and saw him face down on the tile, collapsed behind the prep station. "Hey!" Kellan knelt beside him. "Dylan, hey, talk to me!" Maria rushed over, but didn't kneel. "He's just being dramatic. He does this when he's tired." "He's unconscious!" Kellan barked. Another worker, a girl named Jess with freckles and flour on her nose, ran over with a water bottle. She knelt on the floor, gently lifting Dylan's head. "He hasn't eaten since yesterday," she said. "He worked a double yesterday and came back at 4 this morning. No ride home, slept in the back for 2 hours. Maria rolled her eyes. "He could have asked for a break," Jess snapped. "You told him if he left the counter again, he'd be written up." Kellan stood, breathing hard. His hands were shaking not from the work, but from rage. He looked down at Dylan, still unconscious. "Call an ambulance?" Jess was already dialing. Maria turned to Kellan. "You don't give orders here, newbie." Kellan stepped close, voice low. "You're damn right I don't. But when someone collapses in front of me, I'm not waiting around for your permission." Jess looked up. "He's breathing. They're sending someone." Kellan stepped back, heart pounding. This wasn't one bad day. This was something broken. And it was his company, his responsibility. They'd almost worked someone to death. The ambulance pulled away just after 1:30, lights off but siren low. Dylan's eyes had fluttered open just before the medics loaded him in. He hadn't spoken, just nodded once when Jess told him they'd call his sister. Inside, the bakery was silent. Even the ovens seemed to hum more quietly. Kellan stood near the prep table, arms crossed. His apron was streaked with egg wash and dough. Jess leaned against the sink, cradling a half-empty water bottle, eyes still on the door. Maria was the only one moving. She cleared the counter like nothing had happened, muttering about drama and kids who can't handle real work. Kellan took a step toward her. "You didn't even ask if he was okay." Maria didn't look up. He's not my problem anymore. Maybe this'll teach him to quit acting like a martyr. No, Kellan said. This isn't on him. It's on whoever kept pushing him when he was clearly at his limit. She straightened. You don't know what it's like here. They all want excuses. I keep this place running while corporate ignores our staffing requests and cuts hours every month. Jess looked over. You didn't ask for more help last week. You sent Becky home early because you wanted overtime for yourself. Maria's eyes narrowed. You have about 5 seconds to decide if you want to keep your job. Kellan stepped between them. She's not the one on thin ice right now. Maria crossed her arms. You don't tell me how to run my store. You've been here half a day. I've been watching for half a day, Kellan said, and I've seen enough. He walked to the back, grabbed the office keys from the hook, and opened the door. Inside, the desk was cluttered with receipts, a dried-up coffee cup, and a half-eaten sandwich. The whiteboard above the desk listed schedules with entire shifts left blank. Notes were scribbled in red marker. No breaks, no overtime, check camera. He turned back to Jess. How long has this been going on? She hesitated. Since before I started. I've been here 4 months, maybe longer. People quit fast. Dylan's been here the longest, almost a year. Kellan nodded once. You said he slept here last night? On a stack of flour bags, her voice caught. He didn't want to miss the morning shift, said if he called off again, Maria would fire him. Kellan looked at the schedule again. Dylan had been listed for 5 consecutive doubles. No breaks marked, no backups. Maria appeared in the doorway behind him. You've seen the schedule. We don't have the bodies. I do what I have to do. No one's saying it's easy, Kellan said. But working someone until they collapse isn't leadership. It's negligence. Her eyes flicked to the whiteboard. You corporate? Something like that. She laughed without humor. Then you're part of the problem. You cut our budget, you slash our labor. Then you walk in here and act surprised when we're stretched thin. Kellan stepped forward. No. I approved a labor increase last quarter for underperforming stores. This one included. Maria blinked. You never implemented the hours, he continued. You submitted your schedule last month with fewer than half the approved hours used. She hesitated. If I gave them all what they wanted, they'd take advantage, every one of them. They'd sit in the back all day. Jess said quietly, We just want to breathe. Kellan looked at her. How many hours did you work this week? 49. I'm part-time. Supposed to be 20. He turned back to Maria. Go home. You're kidding. I'm not. You're relieved of duty. Effective now. She stepped closer, jaw tight. I've been running this place for 3 years. I built it out of a mess. And now it's a different kind of mess, one I have to clean up. Give me your keys. Maria stared at him, then reached into her pocket. The keys clinked as she dropped them on the table. You're making a mistake. Kellan didn't move. We already made one, letting this go on for so long. She walked out without another word. The moment the door closed behind her, Jess exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Another employee peeked from the dish area. A kid barely out of high school, with flour on his sleeves and wide eyes. She's really gone? Kellan nodded. She's not coming back. The kid stepped into the room fully. Thank God. Kellan rubbed his face. What's your name? Luis. You okay to finish out today? Luis nodded quickly. Yeah, I mean, whatever you need. Kellan turned to Jess. You too? She hesitated. If we shut down, people won't get paid. I'll make sure no one loses hours because of this, but if you need to go, say the word. She shook her head. We'll stay, but we need help. I'll make some calls. By evening, 2 employees from another location had arrived. Kellan stayed on the floor, running the register while Jess handled the oven. Luis managed prep with one of the new arrivals, a woman named Tasha, who moved fast and spoke in clipped, efficient bursts. The store didn't suddenly transform, but the tension eased. Customers didn't wait as long. Orders came out hot. No one raised their voice. At closing, Kellan helped mop. The floor was sticky from old spills never fully cleaned. Luis scrubbed the back counter while Jess counted the till. Do you really work corporate? She asked. He didn't answer. Because if you're here to fix something, she said, you need to talk to Dylan's sister. She's the one who kept him going. Said she'd cover his rent if he quit, but he wouldn't take it. He wanted to earn it himself. Kellan nodded slowly. Can you get me in touch? Jess pulled a slip of paper from her pocket. Her name's Naomi. He folded it and tucked it into his wallet. They locked up at just after 9. Kellan waited until the others were gone before stepping outside. The parking lot was empty. The strip mall neon buzzed quietly overhead. He pulled out his phone. Hey, he said when the call connected. It's me. I need a few things first thing tomorrow. We're suspending all operations at Store 12 until further notice. And I want HR involved. No more excuses. He hung up without waiting for questions. The door behind him creaked open. Jess stepped out, hoodie on over her uniform. You staying here tonight? She asked. He shook his head. Not anymore. She looked at him for a long moment. You're not just a trainer, are you? No. Then who are you? He met her eyes. The guy who should have shown up a long time ago. She nodded once, then turned and walked toward the bus stop. Kellan stayed, watching until her silhouette disappeared around the corner. He had seen the truth now, and he wouldn't look away again. The next morning, Kellan arrived before sunrise. The bakery was dark except for the faint glow of the emergency lights inside. He unlocked the front door himself, stepped behind the counter, and flipped on the overheads. The place looked smaller in the quiet, less chaotic. But the residue of what he'd seen yesterday clung to everything burnt sugar in the air, grease pooled under the ovens, and the silence of a team too used to being ignored. At exactly 6, Naomi stepped in. She had the same sharp features as her brother, but carried herself differently. Head high, eyes alert, voice firm even before she spoke. She wore a navy jacket and carried a folder under one arm. You called about Dylan, she said. Kellan gestured toward the office. Let's talk in private. Inside, he cleared off the desk and offered her the chair. She didn't sit. Is he okay? He asked. He's home, dehydrated, borderline hypoglycemic. They let him out late last night. I'd like to speak with him when he's up for it. He's not going back to work, if that's what you're checking on. Kellan leaned against the desk. That's not why I asked you here. Naomi narrowed her eyes. Then say what you came to say. I'm Kellan Tate. I run this company. She didn't blink. Is that supposed to impress me? No, I'm just giving you context. I went undercover yesterday because I kept getting reports about this location that didn't add up. I saw what your brother was put through. I saw who caused it. And I'm not here to justify it. She set the folder down. Then what are you here to do? To make sure it doesn't happen again. Naomi didn't sit, but her posture eased slightly. Words are cheap. I agree. So here's what's going to happen first. Your brother will receive full pay for the next 4 weeks, plus a recovery bonus. No strings attached. Second, I'm bringing in a compliance audit team. Their job is to review every store, not just this one. If there's any sign of what I saw here, we'll shut it down until it's fixed. Naomi crossed her arms. You can't just fix this from a desk. I know, he said. That's why I'm not leaving yet. She looked at him for a long moment, then said, You think it's just one bad manager? No, I think it's what happens when leadership disappears. She picked up the folder. Dylan kept records. He didn't want to tell HR because he thought they'd retaliate, but he documented everything. Shift schedules, texts, missed breaks. It's all in here. Kellan took it. Thank you. Naomi turned toward the door, then paused. If you really mean to fix this, don't just replace one name on the schedule. Replace the system that let it happen. After she left, he sat with the folder open. Pages of evidence time-stamped photos, copies of text messages from Maria threatening cut hours, even a handwritten log of missed meals. Dylan had tried to endure it. Now, Kellan had to make sure no one else had to. By 8, HR had arrived. A woman named Marcy led the internal review team. She was brisk, precise, and didn't need hand-holding. I've already got statements from 3 employees, she said as she stepped into the back room. They all line up with what you saw. Start with payroll, Kellan said. If anyone's been docked illegally, I want it reversed by end of day. By 9, the district manager, Frank Ramirez, showed up. He wore a blazer over a company polo and carried a travel coffee he didn't put down even once. I heard we had an incident, he said as he entered. Kellan didn't stand. "We had a collapse from overwork. You want to explain how that happened under your watch?" Frank gave a half shrug. "This store's been a tough one. High turnover, low applicant pool. Maria was keeping it afloat. She was hiding labor hours and intimidating people into silence." Frank didn't flinch. "She hit her targets. At what cost?" Frank leaned against the wall. "You can't expect every store to run like a flagship. Some places just don't have the talent." Kellan stood slowly. "You just called my employees untalented?" "I'm saying they're not strong. Some people can't handle pressure." "You mean people like Dylan?" "Who worked double shifts for 5 days straight and still showed up on time." Frank looked away. "You're fired," Kellan said. Frank laughed. "You're not serious." Kellan stepped closer. "You ignored complaints, failed to verify schedule abuse, and let a toxic manager run unchecked while you collected a bonus for cost savings. You're not just gone, you're barred from rehiring in any of our franchises." Frank opened his mouth, then saw Kellan's face and shut it again. He left without another word. By noon, the atmosphere had shifted. Kellan kept his presence low profile in front of customers, but in the back of the store, staff began asking questions. Tasha, the transfer from yesterday, approached him between batches. "You staying here long?" "As long as it takes," she nodded. "Place feels different already. Not fixed, just different." He didn't try to sugarcoat it. "It'll take time, but none of you are going to be invisible anymore." In the afternoon, a man named Brian arrived from the training division. He'd worked in the company for 8 years and had a reputation for straight talk. Kellan pulled him aside. "I'm promoting Jess to shift lead. She's got judgment, experience, and the team trusts her." Brian nodded. "She'll need support." "She's young. She's earned it." Kellan called Jess into the office just after 4. She looked wary. "Did I mess something up?" "No," he said. "You're getting a promotion." She frowned. "What?" "Shift lead, effective tomorrow. You'll get training, and Brian will walk you through the new scheduling protocols." She stared at him. "I've never run a team." "You've been running one without the title." Her voice dropped. "What if I mess up?" "Then you'll learn, but I trust you." She nodded once, then looked down at her shoes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he said. "It's going to be hard, but I'll be here." By closing, the store had run its first full day without yelling, without skipped breaks, and without anyone walking out. Orders were slower but accurate. Cleanup took longer, but it was done right. As the staff clocked out one by one, Kellan stayed behind and wiped down the prep counter. The rhythm of it calmed him, not because it was simple, but because it reminded him of where he'd started hands in the dough, listening to people, solving problems one at a time. He didn't need to be told what had gone wrong. He'd let distance become blindness. He wouldn't make that mistake again. Kellan arrived at the store just after 7 the next morning. The air was sharp with pre-winter cold, and the parking lot was half empty under a dull gray sky. Inside, the lights were on, ovens humming low, and the scent of proof dough lingered faintly in the air. Jess was already in uniform, tying her apron with sleeves rolled and hair pulled back. She didn't hesitate when she saw him. "There's a delivery truck late by 30 minutes, she said. "That's flour and yeast. We've got enough for the first wave, but if they don't show before 10, we'll have to scale back." Kellan nodded. "You already call it in?" Spoke to dispatch. They rerouted the driver from a construction delay. "I've got Luis prepping the backup mix just in case." He glanced toward the back. "And the rest of the team?" "2 new hires from the central location are training right now. Tasha's walking them through oven safety. I've got the register until we open." Kellan gave a short nod. "Keep it tight. Don't try to do everything yourself." Jess raised an eyebrow. "That sound like experience talking?" He gave a dry smile. "Too much of it." As the door chimed open at 8, the first customer walked in. A woman in a pressed coat and clean sneakers, glancing around as if unsure she was in the right place. Jess welcomed her with a calm confidence that hadn't been there 2 days ago. Kellan watched from the corner without stepping in. By 9, the pace had picked up. Lines formed, but no one raised their voice. No one was barked at. The team moved deliberately slower than a seasoned crew, but with purpose. The new hires, a quiet woman named Miko, and a soft-spoken guy named Armin followed instructions closely without needing constant correction. Jess rotated them between prep and register, never leaving either one alone for more than 10 minutes. Mid-morning, Naomi walked in. She carried a brown paper bag and set it on the counter where Jess stood. "For Dylan," she said. "He wanted to say thanks, but still can't be on his feet long." Jess reached for the bag. "Tell him we've been pacing ourselves. You'd be proud." Naomi gave a small smile. "He already is." She turned to leave, then noticed Kellan near the sink. "I heard what you did with payroll." Kellan nodded. "It was overdue. You also refunded 2 weeks of sales to customers who filed complaints over the last quarter. That was your call too?" He folded his arms. "If people pay for something we fail to deliver, we make it right." Naomi studied him for a beat. "You ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't come?" He didn't look away. "Every hour." She left without saying anything more. In the break room, Marcy from HR had set up a folding table with policy packets, retraining materials, and a rotating schedule sheet. One at a time, staff came in to sign acknowledgement forms and refile their availability. Kellan stood by while they did, not out of oversight, but to listen. Armand, the new hire, looked over the shift options. "Do we actually get to pick?" Marcy nodded. "Within business needs, yes. We're staggering shifts now to avoid overloading you." He hesitated. "I used to work retail. They'd post the schedule Friday night and expect you in Saturday morning." "That won't happen here," Kellan said. "We're setting schedules 7 days out, locked 48 hours in advance." Miko, waiting behind him, asked, "And if we need to swap?" "Bring it to Jess a full day ahead," Kellan said. "We'll back you up." She gave a short nod and sat down to fill out her form. After lunch, Kellan stepped outside to take a call with the maintenance contractor. The back cooler had been cycling too warm during peak hours. He paced beneath the loading dock awning, listening as the tech explained a failed compressor valve. They agreed on a replacement unit by Friday. As he hung up, he saw Luis hauling cardboard to the recycling bin. "Still holding up?" Kellan asked. Luis leaned the dolly against the wall. "Honestly, feels better than Monday. Fewer people yelling helps." Luis laughed once. "Yeah, that too." Kellan paused. "You ever think about doing more here?" Luis wiped his hands on his apron. "I'm just the prep guy. You're the one who kept production moving while half the team walked. That's not nothing." Luis looked surprised. "I don't know how to run a shift." "You don't need to yet, but I'll be setting up a development program, paid cross-training. You'd be on the short list." He nodded slowly. "I'd try it." Back inside, the delivery finally arrived. Jess coordinated the unload with practiced precision, waving in the driver and checking the invoice herself. Armand helped shelve the crates while Tasha reset the prep line. At 3, the district leadership team arrived, 3 regional supervisors and the company's training director. Kellan had asked them to come without fanfare. No suits, no clipboards, just observe. They walked through the line, took notes discreetly, and sat in the corner with pastries and black coffee. By 4, they requested a meeting in the back. Inside the office, the training director, a man in his 50s named Rob, leaned forward. "Your new shift lead's holding her own," he said. "She's got instincts, but she'll need mentorship." "She'll get it," Kellan said. "The team's greener than we'd like," another supervisor added. "Bare minimum experience across the board." "They're green because we let talent burn out," Kellan said. "We're not doing that again." The room quieted. Rob set down his coffee. "You want this store to be the pilot for the new engagement model?" Kellan nodded. "Start here. If it works, we scale it. It'll cost more, hourly increases, retraining, benefits extensions. Then we budget for it." The meeting lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, the team left without debate. By 5, the after-school rush began. The team handled it without flinching. Jess directed traffic, handed off orders, and checked in with the kitchen every 15 minutes. No one missed a break. No one raised their voice. The pastries were smaller than usual, but everyone came out hot. As the sky dimmed toward early evening, Kellan stepped outside again. The air had cooled further, and the wind carried the smell of something metallic and sharp. He stood at the edge of the lot, watching customers come and go. Footsteps approached behind him. Jess stopped beside him, arms folded. "We're closing at 6 today," she said. "Team's good with it. Everyone's past 40 hours." He nodded. "You've earned it." She looked out at the lot. "Feels strange?" "What does?" "Working somewhere and not feeling like you're bracing for something." Kellan didn't answer right away. Then he said, "You'll have rough days, but you won't weather them alone." She nodded once, then turned back inside. At 6 sharp, the lights dimmed. The ovens shut down. The last register tape was pulled. Staff clocked out in pairs, bumping elbows and exchanging goodbyes. Kellan waited until the final door latched shut. Then he walked to the center of the floor, took off his apron, folded it, and set it on the prep counter. He walked through the space slowly, checking corners, testing lights, noting where the tiles still squeaked. He didn't rush, didn't try to make it feel like more than what it was. A start. As the front lights clicked off and the lock turned behind him, he stepped into the cold, pulled his coat tighter, and made his way across the lot with quiet steps. The store behind him wasn't perfect. It wasn't finished. But it was finally honest. And that, he knew, was how real change began.